So hi everyone, my name is Chloe and my project is the Mindful Moment Garden. So my selected site is on Montana State University's campus in Bozeman, Montana, which is located in a flat valley surrounded by mountain ranges in the Rocky Mountain Range. The site is in the center of the MSU campus and is surrounded by Centennial Mall, which is a very busy promenade, as well as major buildings such as the library and student union building. So it's a very flat site and receives some shadows throughout the day from adjacent trees and buildings. The health concern that I've chosen to examine is anxiety, as this is known to be very widespread among students. Like for example, in 2018, a US-wide survey showed that 62% of students experience overwhelming anxiety, and its prevalence, of course, has been exacerbated by the pandemic. The MSU Health Center also cites that anxiety is the top concern for students seeking help at their counseling center. And one interesting management strategy for anxiety is mindfulness, which is a neutral state of mind achieved by focusing on the present moment. And it is said that even just several minutes of practicing mindfulness can really make a difference in reducing stress levels. So I decided to explore the idea of creating a garden that would encourage mindfulness among students. One issue about my site and the Montana climate is that it is very cold most of the year, and the snowy period lasts for almost 7 months. So I thought that designing for winter would be an important consideration. So first, I began to think of potential elements that could facilitate just being in the moment. Particularly elements like through sight and sound, such as bird feeders, a reflecting pool, or fountain and a rock garden. I then distilled these features into 3 distinct program spaces: a winter rock garden, contemplation garden, and wildlife garden. My initial instinct was to draw these spaces as curvilinear or circular forms. I was drawn to the symbolism behind the circle, as represents balance and order, and that's the overall intent of the garden. I established a more refined hierarchy of spaces, which includes grass mounds, these 3 main program spaces, and London plane trees set on a hardscape grid. The 3 gardens shown here in solid green would be enclosed private spaces intended for meditation and contemplation, whereas the grass mounds would be more informal secondary spaces that would facilitate like socialization. I iterated based on this spatial concept. Unlike my initial sketches, this design would allow more for free-flowing circulation, so one can enter and travel through the site in multiple ways, which allows the user to experience it differently each time. So the rock garden here at the very top, the contemplation garden and the wildlife garden are all surrounded by curving corten walls and tall grasses, which helps to further create an intimate central space. And there's a grounding element in the center of each garden, such as like rocks, fountain, and bird feeder poles. These are meant to be, I intended these spaces to be experienced alone for maybe a shorter period of time to encourage a someone to experience like a mindful moment. Oops, sorry. Also, just to create a sense of like visual tension, the ornamental grasses surrounding the gardens break out of the orderly grid onto the adjacent quads. And existing circulation routes that fall within these circles have a darker stone to indicate a transition past the garden and perhaps to draw people in right around here. This section is going through the wildlife garden and the rock garden, and the rock garden would feature plants with winter interest, including showy seed pods or dried flower heads and bright colors. So some examples here are snowberry, red osier dogwood, and sedum. And additionally, dark stone or concrete seating with like high thermal mass would encircle the rocks to create like a comfortable warm space in the winter sun. And then the wildlife garden would feature plants that are particularly attractive to birds and butterflies, such as coneflowers, milkweeds, and asters. And then this is just a perspective showing the rock garden in the winter. And then I just wanted to point out, I apologize, I did have a perspective of the butterfly garden, but it was lower quality. So I just have a bird's eye view of it in the corner here. Thank you.